Juan, Lebrón and Augsburger are a new Premier Padel pair. A few days ago, Augsburger admitted in an interview with Diario As that he wanted to play with Lebrón.
Ya una vez lo tenía cerrado y eligió a Franco, a un gran jugador, así que bueno, hay que ver lo que pasa en este 2026.
And well, Augsburger's wish has come true sooner than expected. But what exactly happened for Leo and Juan to finally team up? When will they make their debut as a pair? What happens now with Stupa and the Nenno? Hello players, I'm Pablo and I welcome you to a new 4Set. First, let's see if Lebrón and Augsburger can hit 1000 likes on this video. And then Juan Lebrón was world number 1 for almost 4 years. Actually, he's the third player to hold that top spot the longest after Vela and Juan Martín Diaz, although Tapia and Cuello are getting very close. But Juan wants to be number 1 again, and that motivation has led him to team up with Leo. So can Leo and Juan actually become world number 1? How did Juan end up deciding to join Leo in the first place? Well, let's go back to the start of 2023, because Ale Galán and Juan Lebrón had just come off the best season of their careers in 2022, but it took a toll of them, because at the start of 2023, Juan started suffering from serious elbow pain. He had to stop playing for several months and something changed. Juan had lost his magic smash. He also lost the number 1 spot to Cuello and Tapia, but he would end the year confirming his continuity with Galán, until the second tournament of 2024 in Doha, where their journey as a pair would come to an end. Then Juan decided to take a chance and reunite with Paquito after they being number 1 together in 2019. However, this time the story would have a different ending. They couldn't get good results and Lebrón decided to go all in. He switched back to the backhand side after 5 years mid-season with a new partner, Martín Nenno. Will Juan Lebrón perform better on the backhand? They have nothing to lose, and his gamble couldn't started better because they won the first tournament together without Tapia, Cuello or Chingalan present. But Lebrón and Nenno couldn't keep that up in the following months, and Juan decided to return to his natural side, the forehand. He was going to do with Augsburger, and it was 99% done until Stupa came into the picture. So at the end, Stupa and Lebrón formed a much more experienced pair than Lebrón and Augsburger, and almost more importantly, they start as the number 3 pair. That would let them avoid Tapia and Cuello and Chingalan until the semis, while Augsburger was ranked 30th. The season started well for Lebrón and Stupa, reaching the final in their first tournament, though they lost to Tapia and Cuello. Actually, they were the hottest pair at the start of the season, reaching 3 finals in 3 tournaments, even winning in Cancun being 2 with no one from the top 100 competing. They even beat Tapia Cuello in Miami, which had been Lebrón's unfinished business from the previous season. But from that point, things started to fall apart as injuries appeared at the worst possible time in the Qatar Major, leading to inconsistency. After those 3 early finals, they only reached 1 more in Valladolid and lost again to Tapia Cuello. Along the way, there were plenty of tense moments both on the bench and on court, and after Rotterdam, the rumors began. Augsburger and Lebrón for 2026? Well, let's see what's happening with Leo first. Because Leo was born in Posadas, Misiones, Argentina in 2004. At 19 in 2023, he decided to move to Spain to live and train at the Nox Future Academy under Pablo Crosetti. That is where he started playing with Tino Libac, his partner, who shortly after arriving in Spain would help him make his breakthrough. Because in 2023 they achieved something unique, their first professional final at World Padel Tour La Rioja, becoming the youngest pair in history to do so. They made another final in World Padel Tour Mexico and ended 2023 with Leo almost breaking into the World Padel Tour top 16, but he would run into a problem, because in the FIB ranking at the start of 2024 he was ranked 115th. He and Tino had to climb back up from the qualifying rounds. Actually, they did it, but halfway through 2024, Leo and Tino decided to split again, and Leo teamed up with Chozas. So together with Alex, he achieved his best result in Rotterdam, reaching the semifinals and knocking out Lebrón and Nenno along the way. But his best moment was not with Chozas, it was again with Tino, when together they won the World Championship for Argentina. After Lebron's departure for 2025, Leo decided to pair up with Cardona. Together they form a young and above all offensive pair like a kind of Tapia Coello 2.0. And they made history because in their very first tournament of the season they beat Chingalan. And then in Chile came their most special win, beating Tapia Coello in the round of 16. That pair were a massive threat, reaching their first Premier Padel final in Asunción, though they lost it to Chingalan. But Leo wanted to go even further and accepted the Nenno's call to team up. And actually couldn't have gone better because Leo achieved something historic. Not only he did win his first title in Madrid, but also he beat Stupa Lebron, Chingalan and Tapia Coello in the same tournament. No one had ever done that before, and right then it became clear that Leo was the real deal. But from the glory of Madrid winning on Sunday to losing in the first round in Paris on Tuesday. Despite the great result with the Nenno in Madrid, they lacked consistency and only reached one more semi-final. That inconsistency carried into Egypt, where everything exploded. In the round of 16, Stupa and Lebron lost to Garrido and Campagnolo, their first time being knocked out that early. After that loss, both decided to stop playing together right away, and the Augsburger Lebron operation kicked into gear. And actually, I don't know how much that decision affected the Nenno's and Augsburger's performance, but you could see this reaction for Martín. What was supposed to start in 2026 has been moved up to the first available tournament, which just happens to be the Mexico Major. So subscribe to the channel right now if you also wanna see Juan, Lebron and Leo playing together now. So what are Lebron and Augsburger's strengths? Well, for me, the first one has to do with the current state of padel. Because in 2025, 70% of tournaments have been played on fast or very fast courts. So every day, this mass, the fitness and the hunt for more winners are becoming more important. In fact, Leo and Juan will be the tallest pair among the top 8, with Leo 1.90 meters and Juan 1.84. So they both cover a lot of the court and are gonna make things really hard for their rivals, especially on fast courts. The second strength has to do with Leo's current level. If Augsburger was a rising promise in 2024, today he's already the real deal. The leap with Lebron, especially in terms of intensity, is massive. Though for Lebron, this is the first time he's teaming up with such a young player. But Juan is being clear about Leo. If he wants to be number one again, he has to join the player with the biggest potential to become number one. But what about their weaknesses? Even though Juan should be the leader of the pair thanks to his experience, both players have strong personalities, and that could be a problem. If they want this project to work, they will have to support each other when one is not at his best and avoid getting angry. And obviously the first few tournaments won't be a problem, but the real test will come later on. On the other hand, Leo's lack of experience doesn't line up with Juan Lebron's goals. Because remember, Leo is only 21 and I don't think it's fair to expect him to be number one just yet. While Lebron is the opposite, El Lobo needs to get back to number one no matter what. Because in 2026, El Lobo will turn 31 and he's starting to be one of the older players on the tour. So will they be able to handle frustration and pressure? I also wonder which coach could get the best out of this pair. But if I had to pick one, I would like to see them with Juan y Mieres, but we will see what happens. And what results can we expect from Lebron and Augsburger together? Well, I still think in 2025 that it's hard for anyone to challenge Coello, Tapia and Chingalan. For sure that Leo and Juan can beat them, but being number one takes consistency. So if Leo and Juan stay patient with the project, I would love to see what they can do after 6 months together. Because I think they will get along on the court better than people think. I believe they will reach finals and maybe even win a title, but right now I still see them a bit far from number one. So what do you think about Lebrón and Augsburger? And of course, we also have the third chapter of Los Superpibes, because the Nenno and Stupa are gonna play together one more time. But this story is for another video, so leave your comment and I will see you in the next one. Ciao!